Since 1973, Tattoo Charlie's has been an established body modification studio in Kentucky, featuring world-renowned artists and piercers, currently with locations on Preston Highway and in Lexington, a staple point in the tattoo community. Learn more at tattoocharlies.com. Set up your appointment today at 7904 Preston Highway. Our tattoos are done while you wait. Welcome to the Metal Forge. I'm your host, Mark Jackson, and I'm going to be pounding out the best regional metal for you tonight. If you're new to this show, pick up your hammer and get down with some of these featured guests. Got any questions or comments? Send them to metalforgeradio@gmail.com. Thank you all for tuning in. Jesus, what a trip it has been since the closing of the station. I have Chris Black calling in from High Spirits, actor and Professor Black. He's going to be talking about all of his musical catalog, about what it's like to go on tour. But before we get into all of that and playing some music, I want to go ahead and give a couple of shout outs here to Zach Kendall, Evan Walsh, Mick Warner, Sean Tyler, and Ryan Tomes. The guys who are donating on the Patreon page or through the PayPal account. Everything that you go to is all branded Metal Forge Radio. It's patreon.com/metalforgeradio, metalforgeradio.com, metalforgeradio@gmail.com for the PayPal. And it really does take you guys. Without the support of you guys, I could not keep doing this show. Thank you all so much. I appreciate everything that you do, from the bottom of my metal heart, So let's go ahead and get into this. This is High Spirits, Stage Fright.
No
Stage Fright by High Spirits, and I am being joined on the phone with Mr. Chris Black. Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
So far, so good. How about you?
Dude, I am doing awesome. You know,
Kick ass. And you can say kick ass now.
that's damn fucking shit right. For sure. So tell me about, and the listeners of the Metal Forge, because I was restricted to a local only to Louisville. Well, not necessarily Louisville, like all of Kentucky and about to Columbus, Indiana before.
Okay.
So, with you guys being out of Chicago, tell the listeners about High Spirits. How did y'all start?
High Spirits started just kind of as a fun recording project by myself. I was playing in a few other bands that were kind of they were kind of each doing their own thing. Mostly recording, but I was in a touring band called Super Christ for a while. And I was at the beginning of 2009. It was in January of 2009 that I kind of got this feeling that I had more, maybe especially lyrically, I had more to express than I could comfortably express in these other bands and projects that I had going. So it was really kind of, it sounds cliched almost, but it really was this simple that one night I just kind of picked up the guitar and almost like logged in as a different user kind of, and started writing these songs that were different musically and, very different lyrically from what I was doing before. And in a matter of, I think, 3 or 4 months, certainly by the summer, so yeah, say 6 months, by July of 2009, I had an album's worth of songs written and recorded in kind of like a rough demo format. And around that same time, I wasn't even really thinking about it as a band that would play live. It was kind of just this, again, kind of like sudden, personal, like just, writing songs for fun kind of outlet. But around that time, around July of 2009, there was these two promoters in Chicago that, they put on bands. They bring in international bands once in a while. They were working on a show with the band Enforcer from Sweden and the band Cauldron from Canada.
Absolutely.
They were on tour together. Or they were going to be on tour together, and these guys were doing the show in Chicago, and they said, would High Spirits do it? And I said, well, let me see if I can find people. It was kind of short notice, and again, I wasn't even really conceiving of the band as a band. It was just kind of me with the guitar and the drum machine to that point. But, I asked around. The drummer from Super Christ was up for it. My friend Scott, who we had a band called Dawnbringer together, he was up for it. Actually, I'm going in the wrong order. The first person I asked was Mike, the guitar player from Zool, and he was in, and then the other two guys, and then we had a bass player lined up for a second, and that kind of fell apart very close to the show, and I ended up playing bass and singing, which wasn't the plan. The plan was for me just to be the singer. So we did the show, and it went well enough that we were kind of up for doing a few more shows and seeing where it leads. Meanwhile, Bob joins the band as the bass player, and that's kind of been our steady lineup ever since. 2010, then we had the opportunity to do some touring. We hadn't even really made an album. We were still kind of just drawing from this pile of demo songs that I had done in 2009. But in 2010, we were able to do kind of a little, kind of like a regional tour and get some experience being a live band, that by the time the first real studio album came out, Another Night, came out in 2011, by then we kind of already had this reserve of material that we knew would work live, and we knew the band worked live. So we were kind of, from that point, just kind of off and running. And from then, it's really just been a matter of, kind of figuring out what we should do year to year in terms of how many shows we want to do, and just keeping an ear to the ground for other things that pop up. And it's been I would say it's been a wild ride. It hasn't been that wild because we're pretty well behaved,
right?
for a rock band. I mean, everybody
sex, drugs, rock and roll.
But it's been, well, we all have our different, 5 people in a band. They're not all going to have not all be on the same track. But
very true.
There's definitely a few partiers, definitely a few, guys who like to get some extra sleep.
Right. And then there's the family guy.
Yeah, and a couple of us have kids. So I will say, as far as the sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing goes, there's always at least one night on each tour
that you all just cut loose,
where stuff gets a little wild. Yeah, I would say on average we're pretty chill. Everybody's got good common sense. Nobody's doing anything that's gonna mess with the gig or like cause a nobody's going to jail or going to hospital, or that's not
right.
Thankfully, that's not this band. But there's always one night, maybe more than one, on every tour where things do get a little amplified, and that's good. I mean, you need that outlet. It's it's normal.
Oh, absolutely. I can think back to some of those for myself even. So,
yeah,
so with
sure.
that,
and there's probably some that you can't remember too, but that's normal too.
Oh my gosh. So okay.
So like I said, it's to say it's been a wild ride like that maybe again sounds like a cliche, but it's been a ride. It's been a ride we didn't expect, and it's been awesome.
Well, and that, and that's what it is. Is also having the fun aspect too. In my opinion, for sure.
Totally.
Because you got to have fun. You got to love what you do. You have to love what you do, or why are you doing it?
Yeah, I agree totally.
So with the amplified moments, I've always liked to ask this. This is a generational question, okay? And I would say since you all had formed in 2009.
Right.
You've been around 11 years, so it's one of those things of like, so technically, or what should I say here? It's do you have any Spinal Tap moments? And I say that's a generational question because on a lot of the younger people, like I would say like probably like 27 and younger, they're like, what's Spinal Tap?
Oh, they don't get the reference.
Oh no, not at all. So it kind of takes the air out of the question. But do you have does High Spirits have any particular Spinal Tap moments? It's always like to hear.
We've definitely had a couple of shows where maybe some technical problems just couldn't be overcome. Nothing comes to mind anyway. Just like I said, some bad luck. We were on tour in the South. I want to say we were in Tennessee somewhere, and the local band didn't have a bass amp. They said, "Can we borrow your bass amp?" And we said, "Okay, go for it, sure." So they borrow it. They play before us and blow up the bass amp.
Oh shit!
Whatever they were doing. So they nuked the bass amp. So we basically, what did we end up doing? I think we ended up using one of their guitar amps for the bass amp for our set. And then drive to the next day we drive. I forget if we tried putting new tubes in the bass amp or what solution we tried. Didn't work. So we had to borrow the bass amp of another band the following night. And this may have been a nice amp. I don't know. It sounded like garbage. Maybe it was just like so different from the particular kind of bass tone that we would normally have but it was like distractingly awkward and weird for the entire show. So that was like 2 nights in a row, having this kind of deformed bass guitar sound. and it wasn't our fault at all. That's what we get for being nice and saying, yeah, sure, use our amp. But as far as like Spinal Tap moments, the drummer exploding or anything like that.
Anybody fall off stage?
No, nobody's fallen off stage. There was one time I made kind of a rude comment about one of the opening bands, which I regretted instantly. It was it's very out of character for High Spirits, and I would hope out of character for myself, most of the time. But kind of blushed a little bit when that happened. It was like I said, it was no sooner out of my mouth. I was like, "Whoa, I can't believe I said that." And I think it was Bobby, and looked at me like, "What are you doing? Shut up!" So, like I said, very, very out of character for High Spirits, especially. Nothing. Like I said, nothing else comes to mind. I mean, most of the silly stuff happens off stage.
Well, that's a good thing. At least it happens off stage, so you don't, get made an ass of like on stage, I guess.
Yeah. Luckily, we've been spared that. Other than, like I said, some technical stuff, but.
I've typically done the jackass move of saying thank you, good night, and we're like the second or third band on the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's like good night from us, but like the show still has like another band or two.
Right.
And it's like, what? Are we supposed to leave?
Yeah, everybody thinks they have to leave. Yeah.
Right, and you don't understand until you actually get presented with that like. You shouldn't say that. It makes you rude to the other bands that are playing after you.
I saw King Diamond once. This is quite a while ago, and it was the last night of that particular tour. And so, towards the end of the set, King, takes a minute and he just wants to thank everybody and thanks the tour manager and he thanks all the roadies and he thanks like their lighting guy and their sound guy, and he's just like going on and on thanking everybody, and they're about to go into the next song or whatever, and Andy LaRocque, the guitar player, kind of shuffles over to King and whispers something in his ear, and King's like, "Oh yeah, thanks to the opening bands too, you've been great."
I saw him for the first time this past November and was absolutely blown away.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
Oh, it's ridiculous in my opinion.
He's got such a deep catalog of material. He's always had such good taste in musicians. I mean, can't go wrong.
No, not at all. And I even enjoyed the opening bands that he had actually had on that tour. One of them was a band called Idle Hands, and Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. And they're kind of a Sabbathy thing. So
yeah,
it's total good stuff. So, what is your allure to wanting to be a musician? What makes the musician thing tick for you?
I don't know. For me, it's always been a part of my life. I started, my parents started me on piano lessons when I was 4 years old, because it was something I kind of showed interest in and expressed interest in. We didn't have a piano. What happened was my parents kind of like babysat a piano for a friend of theirs who was like, I don't know if this person was in between houses or whatever, but she couldn't have her, there was a length of time she couldn't have her piano. And I guess while it was at our house, I just was kind of drawn to it. And so they started me on lessons when I was 4, which is before I can remember, mostly. So I've been playing music. I've been interested in music really my whole life, my whole conscious life. So to kind of narrow it down and put a point on it and say what the motivation is, that's honestly hard for me.
Because it's just there.
It's almost instinctive. Like I said, to kind of point to one particular aspect of it, or I'm kind of at a loss to summarize it. Obviously, it's kind of taken on different forms and different contours, and influenced my life in different ways. But it's always been a part of me, and it's always been kind of bigger than I could describe, even back then.
Understandable completely. Now, have you ever taken like an extended break and then felt like something was missing at that rate?
Not an extended break, but a long enough break to feel like something was missing. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like it's normal for me to be playing. It's normal for me to be creating. So when I'm not, it's like that's when I
You're like, what's wrong?
Maybe
Yeah.
my more like or like more like my I still have kind of that energy or those impulses or whatever, but they get channeled differently, and sometimes they can get channeled, in more of a destructive way. And that's when I'm like, you know what, I need to pick up a guitar or just, have something constructive to focus on. So it's kind of been a healthy outlet in that way too.
Absolutely. I can dig on that 100%. Do you listen to yourself musically?
Yeah, I do.
I
do. When an album will come out, I'll listen to it a lot until the next one comes along. Yeah.
Okay. So you could actually listen to yourself as a fan, even, or is it more of a critique?
In a way.
Based?
I mean, it's both. It's both. It's a critique thing in the sense that I'm always, every album is a prototype for the next one. No matter how far along I go, I always feel like I'm making at least some improvements or refinements, or at least taking some kind of risk, with each successive album, regardless of which band we're talking about. So yeah, it is kind of a critique thing that I'm looking for new openings, or maybe looking for stuff I don't want to necessarily do again, stuff that doesn't work. But also as a fan, I mean, I collect I keep all the different colored vinyls, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I keep all the, try to collect as much of my stuff as I can.
I know people out there who have like, limited runs. We were talking about Adam before we started the show, and I ordered the limited press gold vinyl of their latest album. And he's like, I'm not even going to get a copy of that. I was like, oh, damn, dude. Kind of he's like,
there's like
do you want my
5 or 6 colors of that one.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because, in this day and age, that's a pretty standard thing, where you get 4, 5, 6 different versions of an actual LP version of an album.
Yep,
and
true.
the rarities are in the black vinyl now. Because so many people are wanting to do colors. Yeah, it's like it's such a standard for 50 years, and now it's like the oddball.
It's like it's like stick shifts, or like standard transmission. It's like that used to be. You used to have to pay extra for automatic transmission, and now it's like
now you have to pay extra for a manual. Absolutely.
Yeah, now it's a feature. Yeah.
The option.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking through my questions here. This is how it usually happened on the radio show too. What is your greatest accomplishment in high spirits?
In high spirits, probably the 2 things come to mind, and they're related. One is the touring that we've done, the places we've been able to go, and the audiences that we've played for, and just how welcome we always feel in all these different places that we go, and the appreciation that is expressed is very mutual. There's a lot of appreciation, at our show. There's a lot of appreciation coming from us toward the audience, and vice versa. And it's a real thing, and it's something that, as a band, we've always valued really highly and been real mindful of. So yeah, in a nutshell, the touring we've been able to do, I'm very has been very satisfying and very cool. And the other thing that I would mention is that we've accomplished a lot of what we have accomplished without a lot of how do I want to say it, without an overblown image, without we've stuck to our songs. You know, we're not a gimmicky band. We're not trying to piggyback on anything that's been done by any other band, or that's even that we've done. We've wanted to, and I think we've been successful at just using the power of the songs and what we do as a live band to do what we're doing. And that's something, I don't know what the other guys in the band would say on that topic, but speaking for myself, that's something I'm very proud of, that we've done it with songs.
Absolutely. And there is definitely, you know, going back through and listening to your Bandcamp page, you know, if it's a couple of years between releases, you know, there is definitely a sound that you have that is your sound. You know, I can't pinpoint and say, I can pinpoint influence and say, yeah, okay, I could kind of see, you know, like a possible Maiden influence, but it's like, but it's not.
Oh, for sure.
But it's not Maiden. It's because
sure.
Maiden has their sound. It's their sound.
Mm-hmm.
I think that.
And there's certain moments I think where maybe a certain influence seems very obvious, but it's not. You know, it's just kind of a drop in the ocean in a way. It's not. You know, we draw from a lot. We draw from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and we will draw from the current decade. I mean, there's a lot of great music out there that you know, kind of turns us on.
And even with stuff like that, you know, there's so many musicians out there that people don't even know about. You know, people know about them, but like they're not, you know, people who aren't just widely talked about, who may be a local or regional musician that are outstanding people. You know, outstanding musicians, outstanding songwriters. And, you know, that's what I love about playing music personally, is I can hear a band that I don't know if any of my friends have ever heard of, but I have. And
right.
It just kind of blows me away, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to get noticed, and you really, I think for a really motivated band, you know, you have to kind of draw attention to yourself in every possible way, and that's not really been our motivation. Like I said, we've been kind of stubborn about doing it our particular way, and you know, and people have found us. You know, we didn't have to really sacrifice anything. We had some good luck and some good timing, and we're lucky to find some very dedicated people who were interested in what we were doing, and who have helped us keep it going this long.
Part two to that question, because I do have, you know, what the greatest accomplishment, but I do also have like I said, a part two to that, and that is, what is your goal to surpass that?
I don't know. There are
Bigger
places
tours?
where we haven't. Maybe the right ones, maybe. But again, we're kind of stubborn. Like we're maybe stubborn's the wrong word. We're a little bit skeptical. The bigger tours where, you know, the opening band buys on and they have to sell their T-shirts for $30 because that's what the headliner sells their T-shirts for. That type of touring. Well, there's a few reasons it wouldn't really work. Like I said, we're skeptical of that kind of business technique. Like, that's not really our business technique. I mean, makes us sound sophisticated when we're honestly not. But we do have some kind of principles that we stick by, and I'm not sure about that whole world. Plus, those are the kind of tours they go on for like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and us, the points we're at in our lives, like that's not what we're looking for in terms of a lifestyle, in terms of committing that chunk of time. Now, that all being said, if the phone rings tomorrow and it's Steve Harris, like, we're going to talk it up.
That's so funny that you mentioned that.
We're not categorically saying no to anything, but we do. We've been pacing ourselves, I would say, and we find a way that works, and we tend to stick with it. There are a handful of places where we haven't played that we would like to, such as Japan, such as Australia, some particular South America is supposed to be very, very good for touring bands right now. So we do have some longer term goals yet to accomplish that I think if we stick with it, for another, what did you say, 11? Yeah, for another 11 years, I think it's maybe not so far-fetched that we might be able to do some of that. But, yeah, that's the only thing that comes to mind, and kind of just, like, keep it rolling and hope everybody in the band stays healthy and, nobody loses his hearing or loses his inspiration, because it feels pretty good. And it feels pretty good to know that it's been the same 5 dudes pretty much from the start, too.
And that's a great thing, because, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, we're proud of that. We've done we've had, I think, 2 or 3 tours where we had to have a substitute on a particular instrument just for a couple times. Some unexpected stuff came up, and we chose to do the tour that way. But
it's not optimal. I can dig that for sure.
It's definitely not optimal. And after the last time, nothing. And this is nothing, absolutely nothing against the people who have helped us out over the years. I mean, on the contrary, we've been lucky to have the talented people available for that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I feel like when it's not the original 5 people, it's not quite the same show. It's not the whole show, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like because we're not doing the 6-week tours, because we're not out for 100 shows a year the way a lot of bands are, we shouldn't do it just to do it. We should do it and do it 100%. And then so I think I think going forward, unless there was something really unexpected, I think it'll just be us 5 for the duration, whatever that may be.
And that's a great thing, because in today's musical climate, it seems like there are so many bands that I know of that have so many different members. There'd be like, and mine in particular is that way. I'm the only original member after 13 years.
Oh, wow.
But we've only been a 3-piece. Every time we go to expand to 4, every time we go to expand to like a 4-piece, a guitar player will quit. So that's my Spinal Tap thing. It's like, well, there's another one, because I'm a bass player.
another scalp on the wall.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of them. I think it's been like 9 or 10 separate people, and a couple of them have done different roles in the band. So,
oh wow.
You brought up places that you've wanted to tour: Japan, Australia, South America, which would be super cool. So, a question that I have for that, and this is like one that I've always liked to ask as well, is if you can pinpoint, if not, that's cool. Where's your favorite place to play? City or venue?
Let's see. We do extremely well. There are two places in Europe that come to mind immediately, and that's Newcastle in the UK and Hamburg in Germany. We do extremely well. We've played both of those cities probably 5 or 6 times apiece, and it's always A plus. We feel like kind of like an adopted local band, maybe, or like
something happens
like
and it clicks.
There's just something a little extra, or a lot extra sometimes, in Newcastle and Hamburg, that I feel like we could always return to those cities and feel that same kind of bond as we do there. In the U.S., it kind of changes. U.S. cities aren't maybe as consistent because people tend to move around a lot here, it seems like, and or maybe somebody's living somewhere temporarily to go to school. Like Baltimore was pretty worthwhile stop. Maybe I want to say 10 or 12 years ago, because there was a clique of kids going to school, I think at UND or something, who were all metalheads and into metal and organizing shows and, promoting stuff on like radio programs and stuff. So they had this core of dudes and girls too, who were just real big boosters. So that made that a good scene for a little while. But then, they finish college and everybody kind of spreads out a little bit.
They moved back home to Kansas
or wherever. One guy moved to New York. I just saw him a couple of weeks ago in New York, and he's doing well. I have to say, I was thinking while you were away, I was thinking about it, and I think the most for consistency, I think the most consistent. You can't really put it on one city, but the most consistent region in the United States, in my experience, has been New England. As far as like a very good audience participation, like a very vocal audience, lively, they show up ready to go. New England definitely has.
Now, when you say New England, you're talking like Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island area?
Oh no, I mean like Rhode Island and Boston. We've played there's a really cool place called Ralph's Diner in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is kind of like central Massachusetts. Like, figure like halfway between Boston and like the New York state line. There's all kinds of, especially in Boston, there's all kinds of colleges and universities, and all around that whole region. It's very, very active. Tons of bands. Everybody there is in 5 bands. They all go to each other's shows and shit. So I would say again, for being consistently kick ass, definitely New England. Now, we've had great shows in Chicago, obviously. I've really liked Texas. The couple times we've been down there, like, we had a real good time in Texas. San Antonio and Austin in particular. Well, Houston too. Really every time we played in Texas, I've come away feeling like that was real good. But it can happen anywhere. I mean,
I dig
sometimes
that.
you get lucky and sometimes you don't. Sometimes the local band blows up your bass amp.
Right. In BFE, Tennessee, or wherever it was, for sure.
Yeah. But we've had good shows in Tennessee too. Nashville's a lot of fun. Louisville was fun. I think we've been there 2 times.
Yeah, I'd love to have you guys come down and play again. Just to have a kick-ass show down here, because that'd be super cool.
Yeah, what did we? It was us and Savage Master and Christian Mistress, if you know them, and Lurking Corpses from Fort Wayne.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With the other band. Yeah, I think that was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while since I knew of you all coming down. So.
You are not the only
on the artistry aspect of being a musician with influence, if you could have written any song or album, something that's so quintessential to you as a person from any other artist, what would it be?
If I could have written it,
Like say, Master of Puppets is so awesome to you, and you wish you could have written that. What would that song or album be for you?
oh, that's a tough one. That's a hard one. I would say, there've been a few times where maybe this is a way of getting at it, and it is my favorite album. My favorite album of all time is the Diamond Head album, the debut, Lightning to the Nations, or the White Label album as it's known.
Yeah.
And there've been a few times where I come up with this kick-ass riff. Oh, I love this riff, or I can hear this kind of, singing melody in my head or something. Like, oh, this is great. I got to remember this one. I got to go record this one on my little, I have a little kind of audio sketch pad, you could call it, I guess, for riff ideas and stuff. I got to remember to record this. And then in the meantime, before I get up there to actually play it, I realize, oh, well, that's why I like it so much. It's a Diamond Head riff off the first album. So,
and it hits
that happened
you.
another time. That happened another time, and it's not like I particularly love the song Crazy Train, but I'd come up with this riff that I just thought was so killer, and I couldn't wait. And I showed it to Ian, the drummer. I was like, oh man, check this out. He's like, cool. So we jammed on it, and we were kind of like starting to build another couple riffs and kind of build a song around it. He's like, that's Crazy Train, right? So, why didn't you tell me that an hour ago before
before we wrote a song around it?
He just assumed I knew. He just assumed I was being cheesy, like making like a little Quentin Tarantino reference, or something. But no, like I said, it's not like I love that song. I mean,
right, I get that.
But I was like, yeah. But yeah, my favorite album for a long time has been that Diamond Head album. Now they're not my favorite band. Motorhead's my favorite band.
Oh, you've got to be shitting me.
Yeah.
Are you you're serious? Motorhead's your favorite
No,
band?
totally. Yeah, since I was a little kid.
God.
Well, since I was like 10 or 11.
People are gonna think it's a collusion thing, man, because it's like I'm fucking totally, like Motorhead.
Right on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I only got to see him the one time, and that was the year that Lemmy had passed away. So,
did you see him in St. Louis, my buddy, or Indianapolis, right?
Indianapolis, yes.
Yeah,
that was the first full show they played on the tour.
My buddy from here said that was a good one too.
Yeah, it really was. You could already tell something was up. They played a lot slower.
Oh, sure.
But still, it was a killer show. They actually went out and performed.
I'm glad you got to see him.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad you got to see him.
Did you ever get to?
I saw him probably 15 or 16 times.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm a singing bass player, so doesn't get much more Motorhead than that, so.
Right on. Right on. Yeah,
so,
I'm glad you got to see him.
I'm also going to feature another song from you. This is a band called Actor. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about
Actor. Yeah.
Actor. Tell me about Actor.
Yeah. Actor was. I became friends with the bass player of the band Circle from Finland. I became friends with him when he heard one of my bands, which was called Dawnbringer, and was intrigued enough to kind of seek me out and send me an email, and we ended up exchanging music and becoming friends. And he's one of these guys. He puts me to shame with the number of albums and projects and collaborations that he's done. Just with Circle, Circle probably has 40 or 50 albums.
Oh my God!
I'm honestly not sure. But his name is Jussi Lehtosalo. I'd probably slaughter the pronunciation, but that's pretty close, I hope. So Circle have kind of changed a lot musically over the years. They're kind of no two albums sound the same. They go through different little periods or whatever. But some of their albums are completely electronic. Some are completely acoustic. Some are completely weird. And some have, like, there's a few that are more rockin'. And those are the ones I'm a little more intrigued by. But anyway, long story short, or long story medium, as I often go, we became friends. We exchanged music, through the mail, and always talked about, hey, sometime we need to try a project together, write some songs together, or, whatever. And we kind of went back and forth like, it's not even true that we went back and forth. We never really even discussed what it would sound like if we were to write music together, or what direction we might want to go, or what influences we should draw on. It was just kind of just the idea of, like, let's just do something. And then one day he sent me 3 songs without vocals. I think he had another project that kind of didn't pan out, and he just had these songs. And I guess he figured, well, I'll just send them to Chris and see if he could come up with anything. And so we ended up making a 7-inch out of those songs. I want to say this was in 2013, maybe, that the first single came out, and it got a really good response. People were really into it. We didn't do a demo or anything like that. We just kind of were like, boom, here you go. And like I said, it got a really good response. People were really intrigued, and we were meanwhile intrigued musically, and of course, by the response was encouraging. The fact that people actually checked it out and actually bought the record or bought the download or whatever. So we continued and did an album, and now we've done a second album, and we still haven't really even had that initial conversation about what should it sound like, or what do we want this band to be.
Yeah, it's whatever it.
It's real instinctive, and I can't speak for the others. So it's a 3-piece. It's myself and Yussi plays guitar. He plays bass in Circle, and he plays a lot of keyboards in his other projects, but he plays guitar and keyboards and actor, and a drummer who's also in Circle and a number of other projects with Yussi, named Tommy. And really, they just kind of get together and rock out these very basic, it's like just a guitar and drums, very bare songs, and then we just kind of build on top of them. Then I put down my bass, and then find a way in with the vocals, and then at the end, the last step is to kind of saturate it with all these keyboards and kind of guitar effects, and maybe some more, like layered vocal kind of pieces. It's kind of, and it's not really anything goes, because again, there's this kind of instinctive, like, well, some things are actor and some things are not, and we can't really explain it, but yet we still know, it's a gut thing. But it comes out the way it comes out. And, again, we've been encouraged by the fun that we've had doing it, and also by the fact that people seem to be interested in it too. I mean, it's really cool for us.
That's awesome. And you've probably not, it's probably just a album thing. You haven't done any shows, nothing like that at all.
It would be really hard to pull off live, especially being a 3-piece, just because there's so much. I mean, the recordings are really pretty saturated. Like, even when they're not, there's kind of a lot kind of running in the background. There's a lot of kind of layers to the sound. There's a ton of vocal harmonies and all this weird shit. And it was funny, the first album, we would get that question, and it was very easy to say, well, we don't want to just stand there and play our album, so we're not going to play live until we have, more songs to draw on, and we can do our best stuff. Now that we have 2 albums, we're going to need to come up with a different excuse, or maybe actually just try it, or get a bunch of holograms. I think that was one idea.
Wow.
Get a bunch of holograms.
And just like multi-track play it live.
Even that sounds like a pain in the ass to me, so I don't know.
Right. Like,
I'm stick with the recording for a while.
That's I agree with that. You know, that does sound like a pain in the ass because for the people that play with backing tracks and stuff, I don't, I can't do that personally because I'm just like I'm in the moment kind of a player.
It's weird, man. It's just, you know what it seems like to me, and it's not even like an ethic, like an artistic ethics thing. It's like so much could go wrong, and if it does, like that's catastrophic. I mean, I saw a band, and I won't say who it was because I don't want to, badmouth anybody. It was very early in their thing, and there was a band with a huge amount of hype, and it came over and played the U.S. and it was a big deal, and their backing tracks were out of sync, and it sounded like garbage.
You could say it. Bad. You were about to say.
I felt bad for them on one hand because it's like you're taking a huge risk that all the gizmos that all your flux capacitors and all your gizmos are gonna coordinate the way they're supposed to, and it's gonna be perfect. And I'm sure 99% of the time it is, but that other 1% has to just be total embarrassing hell on stage.
Oh yeah, for
something to go
real.
Wrong.
You know, that was always one of my things with like Floyd. You know, when Floyd with the only recent stuff that they had ever done was they had video backing tracks and stuff.
Yeah.
And to be able to hit everything pristine to where it needs to hit in the video, that's one of those things. It's like the video or the music is off a bit, and it doesn't make sense. It's like it's trashed at that
you're
point.
Screwed.
Yeah,
you're screwed. You're screwed. And then at that point, I mean, I assume that a band has like a content, like it's like
pause the video for a second.
Somebody forgets their lines. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have contingencies for that stuff happening. But boy, talk about stress. I'd
rather just play the show for real.
Yeah, just worry about whether somebody's had a couple too many beers or something. I mean, that's more manageable.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's a bit too much for me. I'm just there to hammer out on the bass and scream a few words for real.
Yeah. It shouldn't be that hard, right?
No, it shouldn't be, but it is. I don't know. Some bands out there can do it. Some of them can't. What are your interests outside of music?
Not a whole lot.
Right.
No, I mean, I have 2 kids and a wife and a house. So there's obviously a lot of my life is spent, doing my part with all that. But I don't have a day job. I haven't had a day job for a while. When my kids were little, well, one of them still is little. That was my day job. My go-to line was that I was a professional dad 11 months a year and an amateur singer 1 month a year.
I've used the term professional musician before.
What's that?
Professional musician.
I said professional dad and amateur singer. Was how I would describe it, and that's not too far from the truth. I mean, I have a couple of side hustles. I mean, there's a little bit of income from Spotify and iTunes and that stuff. We are set up for all that, or I am set up for all that, I should say. I do. I've done some. I've flipped a couple of record collections and sold some vinyl at some record shows around here. So, but as far as like actual interests outside of music, a lot of other than family life, which is pretty separate from that. A lot of my interests outside of music are still connected to music. Like record collecting and traveling. A lot of that just kind of is an outgrowth of what I've done, musically, or what I am doing musically, or my creative life too. Even a lot of my friendships kind of overlap in that realm. So it really is, like I was saying, I started playing piano even before I really remember. So it's all very normal, but all very, very, what's the word? It's all encompassing,
Right.
I guess.
Absolutely. That it's, you know, you collect records, you like to travel, so that, you know, that's the reminder of being like on tour.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
it all kind of fits together in its bizarre and exhausting ways.
well, that's awesome, you know. I mean, because it seems like it's always been like we had said earlier in the interview that taking a small break and you realize what's missing, and it's the music.
Yeah,
So that makes sense completely,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So before we go, you know, go ahead and tell everybody out there how to check out High Spirits and Actor.
Well, hopefully there's a lot of places that people can check out High Spirits or Actor. You know, we should be at your local record store. We should be on your Spotify subscription or however that way. I'm not a Spotify user, but I guess a lot of people are nowadays. So
Oh
we
yeah,
definitely make sure that everything. My philosophy, especially with High Spirits, I think High Spirits really is for the world. I really think it is for everybody. And with that, it's always been important for the music to be available in the ways that people want it, whether that's on a vinyl album, a compact disc, on Spotify. We've done cassettes of a few of the albums. Like, we want whatever somebody's mode of music listening is, I want High Spirits to be available there. So Bandcamp's a good place to start. We manage that ourselves, manage it myself, I should say. You can listen to anything for free, all you want. Buy downloads, you can buy merchandise and stuff. You know, again, that's all me. You know, if anybody listening has ever bought a High Spirits T-shirt online, you know, that I folded
packaged.
it up, and that was me all the way. You know, taping the label on there and everything. So hopefully you got it in good condition.
I've been eyeing
But,
your patches on there. So
yeah, we got a couple of cool patches. Yeah, we try not to go too crazy with the merchandise. You know, again, we're a songs band. We're not a T-shirt band. We're a songs band. But at the same time, like, we definitely want to put T-shirts on to people who want to be wearing them. So yeah, we keep all that available as much as we can through Bandcamp. That's a good place to start. And same for Actor. You know, Actor is not as we don't have the same profile, within magazines or people's playlists or whatever compared to High Spirits. But at the same time, we do make sure it's out there. We make sure it's available. You know, Spotify and like the vinyl mail orders where people are shopping. The point of recording albums and writing songs and recording albums is to share them. Otherwise you could just play guitar by yourself in your garage, and that's cool too. But like I said, I mean, especially with High Spirits, like, we want to get that out there. That's for everybody.
very much. So High Spirits on Bandcamp, Facebook, Spotify. Check them out. Actor,
Yep.
Facebook, Spotify, Bandcamp, all of that. Do you have any High Spirits shows coming up?
The next High Spirits show is we're doing a festival in April called Hell's Heroes, which is in Houston. I believe that's on April 18th. Yes, April 18th, which is a Saturday in Houston. Again, Texas is always very fun. And then beyond that, we are working on some dates in Europe, including the Party Sun Open Air Festival, which I'm told is a big one. We're psyched about it. Haven't been to that particular festival before, but that'll be cool. And probably do 6 or 7 other, smaller dates while we're over there. It's always good to try to get some bang for our buck on those overseas flights.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, probably looking at 7 or 8 shows there. And then I have kind of a solo band of sorts called Professor Black. We have a show actually coming up pretty soon. We're playing with Autopsy at Reggie's in Chicago on March 7th. And the Professor Black band does kind of a variety of original stuff and some old Super Christ tunes and we're usually good for a couple Motorhead tunes, maybe more like 5 or 6 if we're really in the mood.
Nice.
So, and that's also, if you go to the Professor Black Bandcamp page, which is easy to remember, hopefully, which is professorblack.bandcamp.com, that's a good gateway to some of that solo stuff, but also you can see pretty much my whole discography, including Actor, including High Spirits, and including some of these other older groups I've mentioned. If you go to professorblack.bandcamp.com, there's like I said, that's kind of a gateway to a whole to a whole another realm,
right,
of my music. So that's as good probably as good a starting point as you're going to find.
Absolutely, because I noticed when I was looking at the High Spirits Bandcamp page that there are 10 releases on there between EPs, albums, singles, live albums. There's 10 separate releases on there over the last 11 years. So
yeah, going back to 2009. Yeah, I think there would be 4, if I'm not mistaken, there would be 4 full-length releases, and then, like you said, yeah, kind of a mix of singles and EPs. And again, that's just maybe the more casual fan isn't interested in the deep cuts, or whatever you want to say, the kind of the B-sides or whatever of High Spirits, and that's cool. It's up there in the name of having it available for the people who do want to dive deep and check that stuff out. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so we're gonna definitely keep it all out there on all the platforms that we can find.
Thank you, Chris, for calling in today and
my pleasure,
just
Mark. Thank
shooting
you
the shit
for the
with me and
opportunity.
everything. It's, dude, thank you so much. And whenever you all are out on the road again in the States here, definitely going to be coming out for sure and seeing.
Yeah, we'll give you a shout and make sure that you get a heads up. And also, Mark, thank you for what you do, and all the best for your new phase, your upgrade.
Yeah, the uncensored.
You can swear, you can edit, you can reach somebody halfway around the world too. So that's
absolutely,
that's a very promising thing, and I'm happy for you on all that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you too.
But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and head it out now with Actor. This is Astronaut.
Where are you now? Is the sun behind you? Do you know how to find your way home? What have you seen in the blackness all around? Where have you been? Say the voices on the ground. Better place. Drifting out to space. Found a better place. Drifting out to space.
Since 1973, Tattoo Charlie's has been an established body modification studio in Kentucky, featuring world-renowned artists and piercers, currently with locations on Preston Highway and in Lexington, a staple point in the tattoo community. Learn more at TattooCharlies.com. Set up your appointment today at 7904 Preston Highway. Our tattoos are done while you wait.